All right. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the last episode, I believe, of Sunday State Chat. Since next week, I will be switching to Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's kind of like a bittersweet thing for me. I got used to this time for half a year, but it is what it is. We made a mutual decision between a group of friends to move me to a different time slot so I can maximize, my watch time. And I'm not running into, Fred and AJ over there from FNA. So this is the last episode of Sunday State Chat. And like I said, it's bittersweet. Saturdays, it's earlier in the day, but it is what it is. But I can go a little bit longer, so that's nice. I'm not like bookended between two people. So that is really nice. And we are a week out from Christmas. So my first show of the new show will be with Mike from Spicy Noodle. And of course, it's when the Cowboys play the Eagles, but it is what it is. Figure I'd take an opportunity to link up schedules with Mike from Spicy Noodles, and we'll get that one banged out. But anyway, enough of me rambling. Let's shout out the people in the chat while I ramble a little bit longer. So what's good, Kike? Great show with MJ the other night. What's good, Ken? PA fam. What's good, Morbid? Another PA guy. And we got Jess Ozak, 3 for 3. PA in a row. What's good, Keys? Good, Malacio. All right, there we go. I think that's everybody. I didn't want to shout out myself and the guest, but I will bring him on. My guest tonight is Mike from Herp Collectors. He had me on his show, I think, in May, I believe. But that was kind of cool. He was one of the first guys to invite me on. So I was like, I'm always really excited to get invited on people's shows. So anyway, here he is.
What's good, bro? How's it going?
Oh, it's going. It's going. We got delayed a little bit talking about work stuff, but anyway. All right. So, the usual introductions, give your elevator pitch, how long you've been keeping reptiles, where you're from, that sort of.
True. So my name is Mike from Herp Collectors. We've been doing this since 2020. We started keeping in 2020. Got into reptiles kind of as a hobby when we were locked down for COVID and whatnot. Like same story as a lot of people who kind of came in around that same time. But that's when we started getting into reptiles, started really digging in with the research, particularly ball pythons, and then just kind of got the bug. I mean, you know how it goes. Got the bug, wanted to breed, start collecting. In hindsight, started collecting like way too quick and started like just kind of picking up kind of like random snakes and stuff like that. We can tap into that in a minute. But got into it, decided we wanted to breed, and decided we wanted to do it as a business, and so we've been in it ever since.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel there's a lot of people that started around 2019, 2020, somewhere in that, slightly pre-COVID or full on, when we got our government money. But yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody that's done that also had that passion. Like it just presented that opportunity at that time, and now we're seeing people fall off or check out in. But anyway, we'll talk about that later because I do have
yeah, man, like it was just amazing like how quickly it just became an addiction in a lot of ways, bro. Like that's all I was doing. Like my whole life has changed since then. I mean, you know how it goes. But I mean, there was things that I did like as a hobby or I was like really passionate about that I honestly don't have as much time for anymore just because like I've been devoting so much time, to this. And that's a good thing in my mind, just because it's something to be excited about, always got something to look forward to. So it's been really dope, man. It's a learning experience, continuing to grow, we just gonna keep pushing.
Hey, what's up, Randy? Yeah, I mean, it, for me, like, maybe, I'll tap this back to you after I'm done talking about it. But like I was always into reptiles, right? I was that weird kid, had a corn snake at like 6 or 7, I forget. And then that turned into more reptiles as I met friends that had mutual weird interest in reptiles. And then life happened, right? You go to college, you got to get rid of everything. I was like bummed out, but I had leopard geckos and I had that ball python. And so I was that guy in college, right? Oh, I got to go buy rats, that sort of thing. And then I never really thought about getting back into it until I, got my job and settled down and moved here where I'm at now. And then, I started before the pandemic, and then it's like, you know what? I'm not working. I got money. I've always wanted to do this, not necessarily with ball pythons. For some reason, that seemed to be the focus, right? Yeah, I don't know why. Because I was not involved in social media or anything at that point. I was just, I had my buddy that went to reptile shows with. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna breed ball pythons. So I bought what I liked, visually, and learned later. It was a little different as far as how to progress in it, like from business mindset of what to do.
True, like growing up, bro, it was totally different for me. I wasn't into reptiles really at all. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, I liked dinosaurs, stuff like that. I thought they were cool, but as far as like owning or keeping reptiles, not at all, right? I never really like kind of wanted to even buy a reptile. Like the thought never even came across my mind. And to be honest, like as a kid when I was living with my parents, I wouldn't have been able to do it even if I wanted to, right? Especially like not a snake or nothing. I remember when I was like 7, 8 years old, my mom like freaking out because like a little lizard got into the apartment at the time, you know what I'm saying? And I had to help her get it out, you know what I'm saying? And to me, it wasn't a big deal. I'm like, this little old lizard, you know what I'm saying? Like my mom was freaking out, but that's just how my mom's was. Like, love of her life, but she is afraid of animals. Like she's not rocking with no animals. So I really didn't grow up in like a pet friendly household. I had a few pets when I was younger, but never really like great experiences with the pets. I remember having a parakeet named Charlie, and the bug man came and sprayed, and that was the end of Charlie. I had a couple labs growing up, but that didn't work out. I think people stole them or they got away, one or two, but like just I really like I didn't grow up in a pet friendly home. I didn't know a lot about animals or any of that. But then like as I got older and got outside, you know what I'm saying, start living on my own, I did start like broadening my horizons in the pet space, but it was more of like your traditional pets, you know what I'm saying, like dogs, right? Yep. And so I had a Siberian Husky. I never forget her. Her name was Emil, who my roommate at the time let escape, and so like Emil was beautiful, bro. Like she was just this purebred Siberian Husky with blue eyes. She loved to run. Like as soon as you open the door, she was just out. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy, but like she was dope, bro. She was so smart, and like we were just like always on the same page on a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Except for the whole when you get out the door, I'm gonna dart off, and like somebody let her dart off, and so never saw her again. And that's been like. That was early 2000s, so almost 20 years ago. My roommate back in like 99, 2000 had 2 ball pythons. If memory serves me correctly, it was an albino and a normal. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what it was. And so I thought that was like the craziest thing in the world. Like, why in the hell, bro, do you have not a snake, but you got 2 snakes, like voluntarily in your room, bro? What the hell is wrong with you? Keep them over there. I don't want nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? And I would see them, and it's funny because like, even like the smell of urates, it's something I smelled back then. And keep in mind, this was like 1999, year 2000, you know what I'm saying? And then getting back into it like in 2020, the first time I smelled that smell, it automatically triggered the memories of that 20 years ago, like something I had completely forgot. So that just goes to show you like how powerful the sense of smell is. But yeah, that was crazy. Like I didn't deal with those snakes at all. I rarely like going in his room. I would only go in his room if I had to go into the room for something. But I was just like that was crazy, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't know any better. You know how it goes. Snakes get demonized. It's like all this stuff that just get like built up about snakes. Oh, they're evil. They're out to get you. They're gonna size you up and eat you. You hear all the crazy stories about the snake sizing up its owner. It went for months without eating because because it was sizing up his own. I mean, just
Right.
like all the crazy stuff, bro. And to be honest, bro, I was a victim of that. And I use that word victim intentionally because I feel like these animals are such great animals. It's so fun to keep them, to learn about them. It's just like this whole plethora of things you can do with reptiles and learn about reptiles and really like broaden your horizons. I feel like the folks who hadn't been exposed to that are really because of fear, right? They don't have the facts, so facts over fear. But the people who aren't able to overcome that, they've really been victimized by like all this bullshit that society has created. And I don't know if you can cuss on this channel, so let me know if you can't. But
I'm not monetized yet. Whatever. We'll deal with
okay, so all this BS of story that folks have, you know what I'm saying, created around these animals. And I'm glad that I was able to see the light.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so the movie Anaconda came out, was it like 1997, something like that, right? So I was relatively young. And I didn't watch that movie again until recently. One, because it's not that great of a movie. But I watched it again, and like the amount of like misinformation about an anaconda was just ridiculous. And I feel like a lot of people saw that movie and just, oh yeah, that's what that snake does. Now it's not going to get as big as the snake in the movie, but it's going to get big. It's not going to eat somebody or size you up or like break your neck like it did in the movie. Or anyway, it's a I feel like movies like that, and then we have news stories that sort of just really.
Yeah.
But then again, 5 or 6 times a year, something like that happens. My dog, bites my face off. That's not making the news. So I feel like there's a lot of misinformation and like clickbait headlines and that sort of stuff, and it just
true.
You read that, and oh yeah, snakes are slimy or whatever, or they're gonna eat me. I never felt that way. It's just interesting to see somebody that like has grown up thinking poorly of reptiles, and then coming in, being a ball python breeder. I mean, that's, I don't think I have never been, I had a food bite from any of my ball pythons or even my boa. So even when
you had a food bite from your ball python?
No, I have not.
Okay, gotcha.
The only thing I ever had a food bite from was my Savannah monitor, and that's because I was an idiot. But yeah, I mean, these things like aren't mean or nasty. They're just chill.
Not at all.
Like the easiest thing to take care of, right? Feed it once or twice, a month, week, whatever your schedule is, depending on the size of the snake and gender. Give it water and make sure it's clean. It has the right heat and humidity. You're good. My dog, I got to take out all the damn time. So
it's funny, like even people who try to, and I'm not trying to bash nobody, but it's just like funny, like some of the stuff that you see and kind of the misinformation that you see, that if you weren't informed, then you would really like just take it and run with it and believe it. So when we first got into ball pythons, we came across this documentary, and it was talking about the ball python breeding industry, right? And so it was trying to paint the ball python breeding industry in a bad light. And so one of the targets was reptile shows, and it was talking about, they have these ball pythons out there for a day, for 2 days with no food. And it was like, okay. No food. Like, you think these are puppies? Like, these aren't puppies, right? These are reptiles. These are ball pythons. Like, they're going to be all right. You know what I mean? Like, but had I seen that before I knew any better, then maybe I would have walked away thinking differently. You know what I mean? And so that just really speaks to the importance of education and being informed.
Yep, definitely. Do your research. And, before you get any animal, do your research. You get a dog, you got to realize how much the veterinary costs are going to be, because they can get up there.
Oh, yeah.
And know
quick, fast, and in a hurry.
And know the breed you're getting and the issues they could have.
Yep.
I have a Beagle Bulldog mix, and she will be prone to hip dysplasia.
Yeah, same thing with German Shepherds.
And
like you can get them OFA tested, and that's not like 100%, but at least it give you a little bit of comfort. But go ahead.
Right. So, I mean, there are certain things that I'm going to have to deal with, as my dog gets older. Granted, she's a small dog. She's 30 pounds. So feeding her is not, I think the rats cost more to feed based on, how long the food for her lasts. So, I mean, that's not an issue. She's been relatively healthy, but again, it's things to realize, she can get into something and then I have a $2,000 vet bill, just like that. And that comes with like any animal, really. You have a ball python, maybe it gets a tumor, maybe it is egg bound. And so it's really just educating yourself on the overall, how much could this thing cost me? And we tend to sometimes look the other way when it comes to, reptiles because, we pay $20 for it. And ultimately for me, the health of the animal, whatever I can do to make that thing, if I can save it, fine. If, I have to euthanize it, unfortunately, that's the route we have to go because we're looking for quality of life there. But anyway, I got a little sidetracked there. So we're talking about multiple species getting educated. You're working with ball pythons. Are you interested in working with anything else in the future?
Yeah. So right now we currently keep, outside of ball pythons, boas. We keep carpet pythons, and so we got 3 species of carpets. We got coastals. We got we got 1 coastal. We got 1 brittle, and then we got several jungle carpet pythons, and so we got 5 carpet pythons in total.
Okay.
And then got a green bottle blue tarantula, so it's a New World species. We got 2 German Shepherds, and then we got like a gang of ASFs.
Yeah, we'll talk about them later. So let's get into the nitty gritty. It's a ball python channel for the most part. We're ball python people. So, do you have any advice for people who are interested in breeding or just starting out? Like maybe this is their first year, and what pitfalls can they avoid? What, like when y'all were talking to me last year, hey, pump the brakes here, chill, be patient, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I hate to kind of like steal from Pat, but I really kind of have this same advice because I've gone through this as well, and it's just really like get involved, get to know people, and talk to people about what you're doing. The more people you have around you, especially people that's knowledgeable in it and have your best interest at heart, the better off you'll be. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of increase the rate in which you learn. You know what I'm saying? You can that learning curve don't necessarily have to be as steep because you've got somebody who's a more experienced, who's likely been through a lot of the same things that you've been through. They've likely made a lot of the mistakes that can really kind of point you and help you understand why you shouldn't do this or why you shouldn't do that, because it'll lead to this or that, right? And so having people like that around me has really helped me. Like, for example, I talk about this one all the time, but in terms of the way I was thinking about breeding and structuring my projects, it was just really like it wasn't aligned with the possibilities that was out there. It wasn't aligned with where the market was going. And then in hindsight, some of the things that I had pictured were not as dope as some of the things that I think about now, right? And so I was just like really shooting myself in the foot. But talking with Reggie, we used to meet on a fairly regular basis just to talk through stuff, right? Because I felt like I needed somebody who had been doing this for a while, somebody that was approachable, and somebody that I could just kind of bounce ideas off of. And so doing that really, pun intended, morphed my mind state. You know what I'm saying? And so like I started evolving in a lot of ways in terms of my thought process about projects, right? And what I mean by that is originally when we were doing it, it was just more thinking about like codoms and things I could easily reproduce quickly, as well as just like only focusing on single gene recessives and not thinking in terms of the double, triple, you know what I'm saying, multi-recessive game, right, and where the market was going, and then just the capabilities and the possibilities with combining those different recesses. And so I just started thinking about my pairings in a different light. And then once I started joining Patreons and just talking to other people, linking up with Matt from Ebony and Ivory Reptiles, Justin Thomas from Armless Angels, Jaffe is in our chat group, and just like really talking about, Steve, we call him Onk, but Stephen Moore as well from Wetter Moors. We should start talking about projects and stuff like that, and just kind of seeing like where they were going. And it's really kind of just helped me hone it in, right? And just thinking about doper projects and stuff like that. And then I started thinking in more of a investor, like long-term mindset, getting into the Patreons and stuff like that, like with Billy and Ozzy's Patreon, and just like really surrounding myself with people who were, I feel like-minded, at least in a lot of ways. Also Will's Patreon, that's another dope one. Shout out to the RCR Mafia. Just really like surrounding myself with people who really had their head on, or at least I feel like they had their head on straight, you know what I'm saying? Like with this mentality, with really wanting to progress it forward, and people who had been in this a lot longer than me, who could help me and give me feedback. And like, I mean, you never know where you're gonna get jewel from. Like, it could just be a regular conversation. You can be scrolling down your phone and you see something in a Discord chat or something on an IG post. I mean, just on a YouTube video, on a podcast. I mean, it's just is so many places to really like get information from, and just like really being a student of the game, right? And so that's my number one advice, is just really be a student of the game. Never stop learning. Always try to get better. You know what I'm saying? And always strive for self-improvement. The improvement should be like on yourself, right? And so you should be comparing yourself like with yourself. Don't compare yourself with others. You know what I'm saying? Like if you compete with others, I mean, that their circumstances might be different than your circumstances, this, that, and the third, you know what I'm saying? So you could be setting yourself up to be better. But if you compete with yourself, you're setting yourself up to be better, right? And so it's really important to like stay focused and really look at it with that mindset. So that's one of my biggest pieces of advice. Keep learning, be a student of the game, always strive for self-improvement.
Nice. That might be the longest answer I've had so far for that one.
I got you, bro. Content. I just
notice the big sip of water afterwards. Let's circle back to the Patreon. I know we're both in a few of them. Do you find the benefits from what the breeder provides to be like the utmost of joining a Patreon, or the access to everybody that's also in that Patreon? Because most of them have a Discord or a group chat or something like that.
I think it's a little bit of both, bro. Like kind of going back to what I was saying in terms of being able to pick up stuff from a number of places. So the breeders, they provide their different the different content depending on like what level you own, or just kind of how they do their thing. But a huge benefit, bro, is the community. You know what I mean? Like getting to know people who also on the Discord, getting to know people who also on the Patreon, you know what I'm saying, whichever app you see them on. That's a huge piece of it too, because I've met a ton of people just through the Discord or just through the Patreon. And if I'm being quite honest, bro, like I can do way better, you know what I'm saying, in that space with networking and talking to people and stuff like that. And I'm really building on that over time and getting better. But just with what I've done, I've already made a bunch of connections, and that can only grow. So I do feel like that whole community is huge, bro. You start seeing some of the same faces in the different Patreons, right? And so like now you're kind of got like that common theme to bond around. It's like, oh yeah, you see, I saw you in Justin's Patreon, and I saw you in Ozzy's, I saw you in Billy's, you know what I mean? I saw you in Will's. And so like that's pretty cool too, right? And so I think the community is a huge part of the Patreon, bro.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I'm not plugging for joining a Patreon at all. I mean, it costs money. So if you have the disposable income to put into a Patreon membership, then ask around in the community. Somebody will tell you which one would probably be the best fit, because there's people that are in multiple ones. But you can also get a lot of the same advice. Might take a lot longer, but through the community in general.
Right.
So, I enjoy the Patreons that I'm in. Some of them are a little overwhelming with a lot of people and a lot of chats going on, talking about Ozzy's Discord that can blow up from time to time. But yeah, I mean, I at some point interact with the community and maybe pop on a panel show or at least be in the chat commenting something like that. I think that definitely helps. I mean, I feel like I had my name out there before I even had a clutch. So
yeah.
I mean, I think
that's a big thing too. Is it gets your name out there, right? Like people get used to seeing your name and they recognize you as like somebody who's doing this. And not only do they recognize you as somebody who's doing this, if they see your name in like one of those Patreons, they recognize you as somebody who is trying to do this and do this right. So
yeah. Now, before we get into the ball python genetics, can you talk about your marketing? Because I know you have a sweet marketing package, and you actually had the guy who did your branding on Clutch Conversations, I think earlier in the beginning of the year, something like that.
yeah.
But I definitely liked how you have everything's branded. Have you noticed since you did that? Have you noticed a change, in subscribers, followers, things like that?
So first of all, shout out to Splash Pack. Speaking of Brandon, Keisha, shout out to the homie. But I don't know. It's hard to quantify that, right? Because you don't know, like, really. I mean, unless you have like a questionnaire or some sort of survey. You know what I'm saying? Asking people, how did you find me? What attracted? So it's hard to really quantify that. What the branding did for me is it really like helped give us a professional look, an organized look, a consistent look, and consistency is big. You know what I'm saying? Have specific things laid out. You know what I'm saying? You're operating within these parameters, and this is kind of where, and then in these spaces, this is where we got like a little more flexibility with it. The whole package that was provided was very professional. It gave us a lot of options. I really learned a lot about branding, you know what I'm saying, and just kind of the mentality to have and what we're trying to accomplish with branding. And I'm still learning, right? And so like I still like test stuff. I still, you know what I'm saying, like might stick my toe in this water, stick my toe in that water or whatever, and try to learn more as we're going on. But it just really helped just kind of like give us this whole package and this whole foundation to work from. And then like it also looks dope as bleep to me. As well. And like that's another thing that just makes me excited. Like I really like the cleanness, the crispness of it. And so I would recommend Blake to anybody, you know what I'm saying? But I'm really happy with what was provided, and I can plan on doing more with it, building on it over time. You know what I'm saying? But this was like really a good foundation.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like logo. I mean, I remember watching that live and like just the logo. Either it's got to be something memorable or like simplistic enough where it gets We even saw Jessica Booker, and he's the same guy when he rebranded to Canova, right? And the new, it's simple, and I think that helps, and then it sticks in your head. You have
like
a nice simple. Okay, I'm gonna remember that, like Nike swoosh, something like that.
Right.
But, all right, enough about that. You're here for ball python, so all right, Mike. What is your favorite incomplete dominant gene that you're working with right now?
That's a hard one, bro. That I'm working with. Okay, so I'll say Cypress right now is what has my eye the most. Right now, I've only got Cypress in 2 animals. I've got a Cypress Spectre double het hypoclown male that I'm trying to get going with breeding. He's a little timid right now, and he's not breeding right now. But so Cypress, and then I also got a Phantom Black Pastel Cypress het hypo female. Cypress, I want to do a lot with Cypress. It's a lot of dope combos out there. I want to get in OD and super OD. Is quite a different things I want to do with it. Obviously, I want to get into like some visual clown combos and some visual hypo clown combos and stuff like that. But Cypress is one of the ones that's really doing it for me right now. So shout out to Cypress.
All right. Is there one that you want to add?
I really want to get Stranger into the program. As stereotypical as like whatever as that sounds, I really want to get Stranger into the program. I don't have any Stranger right now, but at some point we're gonna bring it into it. But I'm really trying to figure out like which route I want to go and kind of the route I want to take. I do want to get Stranger into the Ultra Clown project. I feel like that'll be dope, like a Stranger Leopard Ultra Male Clown. Like I feel like that'll be like super dope. But definitely want to get Stranger into the projects as well. I got a lot of stuff I want to get into the projects, and I got a lot of things I want to do. But obviously, you have to like pace it, and I got to think about what makes the most sense for where I'm at right now. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I just kind of been trying to prioritize based on where I'm at right now versus what I want to do over time. So I'll eventually get Stranger. Like, I'll probably have Stranger at some point in 2023. We'll see. But definitely going to get Stranger in the rotation and get it into some double recessive projects. I like Trojan too. I see Kai put Trojan down there. I like Trojan. And then Chris said he got me on Stranger because you got me on some Stranger, bro. I love it. Trojan is dope too. I actually got a snake from Abe. Shout out to Abe. It's a female and it's Het Trick. He thought it might have Trojan, and it is like one of the best tricks that I've seen, but I don't think it has Trojan because I saw his Trojan trick Het Clown at Tinley, and that thing was insane, bro. I mean, it was just like mind blowing. And so I don't know, but if it happens to have Trojan, that'll be dope too.
Nice.
Shout out to the classics, super classics.
I mean, so I feel like with like the Ultra Clown thing, Stranger into that.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Or I mean,
I didn't hear what you said about.
Damn it! Hold on. Am I back? You hear me now?
Hey, Chris, drop in the chat. You got some Stranger stuff cooking?
He does. He has a male.
Okay.
Anyway, I feel with if you're gonna take Stranger, one of these higher end codoms right now, work it into something that not everybody's going to do. That's my opinion on a lot of those things. Just because, you don't want to, have a market be flooded with the same thing. Like we have a lot of Batmans right now. People are working Pompeii's, whatever, following Justin's lead. And that's fine. If you want to do that, they're beautiful animals. But I feel like if you're going into that higher end, you might have to take a gamble and work into something like Ultra Melon Clown. Something where it's like, okay, if you hit that with the right codom, like Orange Dream Leopard, like you said, that could be.
Yeah. And then hitting some of those dope combos, because if you think about it, man, like that's what I like about this game, right? Like it's like the possibilities are endless in a lot of ways, and like a lot of the dope stuff that Justin hit, like you mentioned the Batman, you mentioned the Pompeii, like a lot of that stuff that he hit, like you can throw another recessive on top of that, you know what I'm saying, and take it to the next level where you can just kind of keep building on that, and not to mention like just other combos, and it's not just the Justin combos that you can do that with, but it's so many combos out there, you know what I'm saying? And then you can just add more on top of it, add more on top of it, add more on top of it. And so it's crazy, bro. It is straight crazy. I love it, bro.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of economies of scale that go on where either you're going to be that daredevil, take that gamble. If it if it's an ugly snake or if it turns out to be, something that you didn't anticipate based on, what you've seen with it, you're kind of stuck with that. If it's, you have a big collection, you can sort of, 3 years, we'll see what it does down the road type of thing, where you don't have
Right.
to completely abandon it or not do that pairing again. So I feel like with a smaller collection, you got to focus on, what you think will work and what will work.
Right.
That's good, Jeremy. Welcome, Shelby. So, Mike, what is one incomplete dominant that's been around for a while that you think people really need to get back into?
That's a good question, bro. An incomplete dominant that's been around for a while that people need to get back into. I don't know. That's a good question, bro. I'm trying to think of one that like people like really kind of sleeping on. I can't think of one that people sleeping on. Maybe Hidden Gene Woma. It's one I kind of slept on at the beginning, but I've seen some dope stuff with Hidden Gene Woma. That's one. I've seen some dope stuff, but that's not saying that I'm gonna get into it, right? But
right, definitely.
I've definitely seen some dope stuff with Hidden Gene Woma.
Yeah, it works with a lot of things, but it's in the spider complex, so it's got the same
right.
Caveat that it might have a wobble. Not that it will, and you can't. You want to keep it on one side of the gender spectrum.
Right. Yeah, the Hidden Gene Woma clowns that I saw. That's dope.
Yeah, I know Phil's working with that, and then I meant to click on Chris's thing, but Phil typed a comment and it updated. I like some of the things in Spider Complex. I do work with them. I have a bunch of champagne stuff right now for the size of my collection.
Yeah, that's a lot of dope stuff in that complex.
Yeah, what it does with pattern is like you can breed a champagne to a pied or a het pied and get a pied looking snake. I mean, it's really not many other genetics that throw a ringer that looks like a pied.
Yeah, I got one animal with champagne. She is a yellow belly champagne banana.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have champagne pastel but I want to get leopard and enchi into that.
Okay.
And some other, all the stuff that messes with the pattern. I kind of want that and put that into one snake. Because champagne does one thing. I feel like leopard will bring it back, and then enchi will bring it back.
Gotcha.
Where it looks more normal-ish. I don't know.
Gotcha. That female I was just telling you about, that banana champagne yellow belly, I'm gonna probably end up getting rid of her soon. Probably end up selling her just because it really doesn't fit into what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
Yeah, and I got her that first year. In fact, I got her. She was a Black Friday snake that I got like that first year. She's a mouser. She's about 900 grams or so.
So there's some work and to breathe.
Yeah,
yep.
And she just doesn't really fit into the project. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know like who I'm gonna sell it to, if I'm gonna sell it to a breeder, or if I'm gonna sell it to a pet person. But like, I just feel like I could sell it to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, who could maybe work them into their project, or maybe they just want to keep it as a pet, versus me keeping her and not really using her
and not using it. Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right, let's get on to the fun part, the recessives. We talked about the market too. So what is your favorite recessive that you're working with?
Clown.
Oldie but a goodie.
Yeah, like I know that's cliche or whatever, but it is what it is. Like clown is my favorite recessive. Behind that, hypo and DG really for me is kind of on the same level, and then ultramale and pied, working with pied as well.
Okay, so those are the 5.
Yeah.
That you have currently.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that you're looking to add, or are you content right now with those 5?
I'm content right now with those 5 because even with those 5 and the way that I'm going with it, it's gonna grow the collection quite a bit. And so I want to limit that for a lot of reasons. Space and resources, time resources, just you know what I'm saying, all of it, right? And I want to focus and really kind of be able to reallocate resources and push the projects that I'm really excited about, push them that much further. And so in my mind, it makes sense to kind of really focus on the projects that I'm really trying to work before adding anything else that doesn't really go with the projects that I'm trying to work. If I were to add something else, I would make sure that it went with some of those projects that I'm already working, and maybe it can just kind of work in, right? Like it's another recessive, but it's almost kind of like working like another codom in the sense that I'm just kind of working into those projects that I'm already working.
Right, like DG and Clown, you can work in Lavender Albino, down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the mistake of buying everything that I liked, when I got into it, and then I was buying every female that I could find that I liked. Now I'm stuck with one proven breeder male, and I'm playing that game now where it's like I have another one that's going. My ones that I it's their first year, I've not seen a lock, and it's still early, but I'm still sort of like, and all I got left is that champagne guy, and I don't want more champagnes. So I might have to make a January purchase of a proven breeders, something else that works with what I have, just to if I want a combo or something that fits in what I had planned and not just like a backup to make a clutch to have a clutch. I might have to pivot. I'm not
Gotcha.
But yeah, I was looking at my rack and my inventory of what I have, and I'm like, man, I am so freaking female heavy at this point for my size. I said I have like 5 males to I think 20 females.
Okay.
And some of them I can't breed yet. So it's like, man. But I got into some recessives, and I made the mistake of, if I got the male, I didn't get the female. Header visual.
Gotcha.
So I probably should have gone the route of getting the visual female, ultra male, and a het male. That way I can make ultra male combo, whatever. But I'm thinking I'm starting to lean more towards what I have in a female, not for a double recessive project, but for straight up recessive. So if I have like a super entry, super passive, whatever, and I can pair that to that girl, get the hets with all those codoms, and then shortly thereafter, line breed that and hit the visual, or hope to.
Gotcha. Yeah, I went through like a similar kind of set of circumstances and stuff like that. Like that first year, I was just picking up stuff I liked, and then also stuff that I liked that I didn't think was like just crazy expensive. Because when I first started acquiring animals, like I didn't necessarily have that investor mindset. I didn't necessarily see, the benefit of the long game and investing in higher end stuff now, and then letting that grow up, breeding it, and have ROI over time. And so like I was just picking up like all kind of stuff that I really don't need now, because like my whole project focus has shifted. And a lot of those animals I have like sold, but I still have some of them, right? Some of them have produced for me. Others have not. Some I've essentially pulled from the breeding program, and I'm just going to end up selling them. In fact, I've got some of them like posted locally. Some of them are breeder size, some of them are proven breeders. But yeah, I was picking up all kinds of stuff. Like the first 2 snakes I picked up was a super pastel mocha, and I picked up a banana Motley B, right? So banana G-stripe spider, and both of them were supposed to be female. It turns out that the the banana motley bee ended up being a male, and so like those are two of the first ones I picked up. Then the second two I picked up was actually a pretty good deal in hindsight, I think, for what I paid and then what I got with it and whatnot. I picked up a pastel clown female, subadult. It was probably like 300-400 grams or 500 grams, something like that. And then I picked up a Mojave hypo. It was a little bigger than her, and the guy like threw in a rack with it as well. And so like we met somewhere like between here and Orlando, and I was able to go pick that up. And so all my animals after that mostly was codom stuff, and then like I picked up a couple more recessive things from a dude locally who was kind of getting out of it at the time, and I ended up picking up like a clown hatchling from him, as well as a pod that was probably like 200 or so grams or something like that. And then I picked up like a 5/16 codom male who ended up producing a couple of clutches for me. And I picked up a pastel spider, and I was just picking up stuff like wherever I could get it from. I would go Craigslist. I would get some stuff off Morph Market. I was really like not being like intentional about the animals I was collecting. I was picking up. It was just more so me just getting females, because if I didn't know nothing, I knew I was supposed to get females. And so I was just like trying to get females from wherever I could get them from, you know what I'm saying? Regardless of genetics. I just kind of wanted to like build this female army, but I had really no focus or nothing like that. But you live and you learn, right? I started learning more, like I talked about earlier, and things started getting more focused. And by no stretch am I like, I got it all figured out. No, I'm still learning, still making mistakes, but I do feel like I'm better than I was in 2020. And at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? You look back and you're better than you were a year ago. You're better than you were 2 years ago, or what have you.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I know when I started figuring out that there were people on social media that were heavy into ball pythons. Like I knew who the big breeders were back when I started, but you know, I didn't realize how heavy, you know, the social media was. So, you know, I didn't realize, you know, I remember snake bites, but I didn't realize that, you know, a bunch of bigger breeders had, you know, sizable YouTube channels and things like that. So when I started my social media, I started watching that. And this is after I had a couple of animals and things like that. I'm like, oh man, I probably should pivot, because, you know, my mindset is based on, you know, 20 years ago, as far as, you know, what genetics are, you know, it's still cool. You know, because when I was into it, there weren't that many. Like when I just started getting into reptiles, like maybe 4 or 5 ball python genetics, you know, albino corn snakes were like cool still. So like once I, you know, was watching Billy and, you know, people like that, and I'm just like, oh, light bulb. Okay, let me pivot to something that's going to work instead of, you know, just having females to make babies. Yeah, I feel like that definitely going back to, you know, educating yourself, that sort of thing. It's really helped. I still got my old DIY rack here. It works. It keeps temperature. So, you know, that is a place where, you know, I was handy, so I cut some corners. Plus, you know, I could have it, you know, once I acquired the materials and built the dang thing, rather than waiting a couple months or waiting for somebody to, like you said, get rid of a collection or, you know, downsize or something like that. And like, oh, you know, here's a Sea Serpent 3 tub with the animals. Which, you know, that is a good way to acquire equipment and animals, and just hope that the animals that you're acquiring work with what you're doing. And then avoid posting them on wherever you got them, picked up the animals from. Because I know in some of the Facebook groups, they'll call you out for flipping.
Yeah.
Now hold on.
That was a flipper.
I needed the rack. I need 2, you know, 1 or 2 of these animals. You know, there's like a banger male in there that I needed, and the females, you know, I had. So, you know, they came here quarantined, and then I sold them. It's business.
Yeah. People gonna hate you for whatever you do.
Yeah, you have a, you know, a ball python in an enclosure like this. That's too big. You should have them in a rack. You have them in a rack. You should have them something like this. Anyway, I digress.
Can't win for losing, bro.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they're happy, healthy, thriving. They're eating. The parameters are fine for whatever they're in. They're burrowing animals. So
Ken out there flipping.
no. Well, how long do I have to own something before I'm considered a flipper?
Yeah, like what's the cutoff? What's the threshold? Like, is it 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 30?
Because I've definitely bought some stuff that I'm like, you know what, it doesn't work, or it's an animal, or a species that I have a bunch of lizards that are pets, and somebody can use those genetics maybe in a breeding project. So I might want to move some of those things. But yeah, if I can buy something as a steal and then sell it, it's common business, right? You sell me I buy a phone off of you for $50 and the market value is 100, and I can sell it for 100, and you just needed to get rid of it. That's $50 that I made. Type of thing. I don't know.
Phone flipper, bro. You flipping phones.
People do that all the time. They
Flipping
buy
snakes,
lockers.
flipping lizards. So, recessive projects, like, is Ultramel like your primary recessive project?
So that was the male that I have that he hasn't gone. Yeah, I haven't seen him lock yet. But that's what I want to work to, like a lot of these Codom girls that I have. I have some Bell stuff that I'm working. And I wanted to do Ultra Pies. I have a visual pie girl, so that was like going to be my big holdback plan for this year, but it hasn't. It's not looking like it's going to happen because the girl hasn't been eating and she's dropped some weight to where I'm a little.
Oh wow!
I want her to be bigger, not necessarily because she's going to have more eggs, but I just want her to be bigger.
Right.
In the event she has more eggs.
Yeah, it's pretty rough on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, for all my girls who have produced like a bunch of, especially like the more eggs they produce, it take quite a bit of weight off of them.
Oh yeah, my girl went from 18 down to 14, and then she laid, and it was like 900 something after she laid. So I really wanted like still Ultramel everything, but there's some other stuff I can add some pieces of the puzzle.
Sure.
This year.
Now, when they slug out, they don't lose that much weight. That's a pro tip.
Fingers crossed. I haven't had any real issues yet, but the one clutch, they're all still here, assist feeding too. But I if like with that Ultramel Pie thing that I'm working on, if that doesn't go, I do have a visual clown possible head hypo that I could, when he comes back here, he's up breeding in super entry albino right now. So when he comes back, if the Pied is ready and that Ultramel male's not going, and I have an OD double head or possible double head on hypo, I could pair him to those and then get some gamble projects.
Gotcha.
I don't necessarily know if I want to do that. I mean, obviously, with the Pied, it's going to be a double head pause.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if I want to do that, but that is a backup plan for at least the recessive project. I'll have a clown, hypo, pie, like all those things working together in the future. So if I hit a couple females and hold them back, maybe I'll get lucky in the future. Because I do have a nice type super pass out entry butter ghost girl that's growing up.
Gotcha.
That's sort of to hedge my bets on the clown hypo project.
Okay.
And then I get a bunch of codoms in with the double head, at least Pascal.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like this year, like that's my focus is on like what I want to do, and if it doesn't work out, I'm not really doing the backup plan unless I can find a backup male that I can or send a female over to somebody. Not that I want.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense. So speaking of gamble projects, what's your thoughts on genetic testing? Like, how you feeling about that? What's the vibes?
You was reading the questions. It depends. I know a lot of us have our thoughts on it. If it's like a pastel possible het clown, I wouldn't bother. on something like that. But if you have like a clown 100% enhancer, possible G stripe with a codom or two, that's definitely worthwhile, because that's gonna the value goes up a lot higher. There's some things I want to genetically test for projects down the road. I have a super vanilla trick het clown, possible het clown, if that is het clown, but I'd like to know. But at the same time, by the time it's ready, I might as well just do the pairing.
Right.
Because I was going to do that pairing anyway, because I want it in clown.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, yeah, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, it's here to stay.
Yeah, definitely here to stay. Definitely the way the market is going, I think what's going to be interesting to see over the next few years is like how far down the rabbit hole does it go? And what I mean by that is I can sit here today on 12/18/22 and say I only plan to test holdbacks, and that's all I really plan on testing, right? Is just like you said, holdbacks that are worth testing, and I feel like there's an ROI, particularly if I know if it has this specific hit or not, because it's going to determine whether or not I plug it into a project. And so I think that adds a lot of value in the fact that you don't have to spend 2 years raising a POS hit only to find out 2, 3 years, 4 years down the road, however long it takes, that this is not hit for what you want it to be hit for, and it really kind of changes what you do and just kind of your direction and whatnot. And so in the sense that it's going to save you that kind of time, and you're just going to know, and you're going to have like essentially scientific proof that it is hit for whatever gene you're getting tested, then that's, in my opinion, like well worth it. I don't know how far we're going to go down the rabbit hole, though, because I don't want to land in a space to where the whole market is feeling the need to test everything, and then it adds like some pressure on the seller, you know what I'm saying, like to test it or significantly drop the price, right? And so that's what I don't want to end up with, right? Because I mean, how far is it going to go? Are we just testing POS hits, or is the system going to be so efficient and so like built on whatever infrastructure they build and develop over time, to where like people expect you to test like a whole bunch more? I mean, I don't know how far to go, you know what I mean? Like but for me, I right now only plan on testing stuff that I'm gonna hold back, but I don't know if the market gonna like really kind of say, hey, anything, if it's possible, it needs to be tested to be sold. I don't know. So we'll see where that goes.
But I mean, at the same time, you could have stuff that was just a lingering POS hit that nobody ever knew about, right? So say, F1 was a hit for something, right? Never showed up. And then my snake here, a decade later, throws a pied ringer and tracks. But nobody ever from that line that we know, figured that out. So I think that it can miss stuff, if we're not testing everything. But then again, you could also get something tested and it's all right, this is a 100% double hat. And, I'm going to pair it to something that you think you get the visual, and then you don't hit it.
Yeah. Most of the people who I talk to really kind of have the same strategy. They're going to test holdbacks. And I've talked to people who said that they would probably be more willing to do long shot pairings just because they can test the hatchlings and figure out what they're working with. And so like those really kind of been like two of the schools of thoughts in terms of like what they're going to test it and why they're going to test it. I haven't bumped into or talked to a lot of people who say they're going to be testing babies that's for sale and whatnot. I know Justin tests like some babies that's for sale. Like I don't really know what his testing strategy is. Like if he just like tests entire clutches where he's going to hold something back, and then like some things, even though it's hit, he still sells it. Because I have seen animals for sale that was proven 100% hit via genetic testing. But me personally, I'm going to just test specific animals that I might hold back depending on the results of the test. or at least I know how to move forward with the animal.
Right. Like for me, if that double head is just an orange dream, well, at least I'm going to have a possible orange, an orange dream, possible blade, if that shows up, that clown. Which, that's still nice. I feel like, for me, there's still things that work. It's just then I can test again. Did I, did things get passed on? But yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on the animal. It depends on your strategy.
Yeah.
But then again, still be honest. Yeah, this was the pairing. You can do your math. If it's a double visual to something with a bunch of codons and no recessives, you're going to get 100% double head. It has to be. But again, down the line, if there's a visual 100% head, well, you can do the math. You can test it.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's a male or a female or whatever. It doesn't fit. Your holdback strategy.
Sure, but I know for me, like it's already kind of changed, like how I'm thinking about stuff and like kind of a strategy, a future strategy, like because I'm thinking about pairings that I'm gonna be doing, like whether it's this year or next year, and then I'm gonna test if it comes out with this, and this, and it's this sex, then I'm gonna test because I might hold that back if it's got the hair or whatever. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna definitely incorporate it into my strategy.
Right. So like I was telling you, I might do that. Clown to pied. With the possibility of hypo being in there. That is a clutch that I would probably test because either way, there's a hat involved. So whether or not it shows up, it's in mom or it's in dad. That doesn't really matter at that point because I want to test it because it would still be 50 if it was 100%. In the clown, so I still have to test the babies anyway. And
sure.
Then that'll tell me what that is. Now that's gonna cost more money because there's more babies, but at the same time, if I hit triple heads, 100%, that that's a better gamble than waiting all that.
Now we're cooking with grease.
Yeah. So I think in like those instances that sort of logic works. But yeah, it all depends. I wish it were cheaper.
I do too. I don't know I doubt the price will go down. I don't know. Like maybe if the volume go up, the price can go down. I don't know. But like the way everything is with inflation and stuff, I don't have confidence in very many prices going down. Maybe if it's more people to enter the market, then that'll put some downward pressure on the price.
Because from what my understanding is, it's just a DNA test, right? You're running the test whether it's for one genetic or multiple genes, right? So the cost of you running the test is astronomically higher by looking, at a computer screen or whatever the results are on, and going, okay, here's here's clown, here's pied, here's this. So I'm thinking, maybe right now it's more expensive because of, the startup cost of it all, right? The PCR equipment, all the stuff to actually do it. A lot of the research, is academic, so it's publicly available. Once it's published, like Dr. Hannah, that study got published, and you can it goes into a database. So, I don't know. But I do think, the test for that banger animal could be like, if it's just a normal, right? Or it could be just a normal, it's not really worth it, right? You're going to spend $150 on a snake you could sell for 20. But if if you're going to recoup the cost of the test with the sale of the snake and then some, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's some you're gonna win, some you're gonna lose, some. But hopefully, if you're being intentional and smart about it, hopefully it's a net win.
Yeah. So, you're talking about holdback strategy. Like what? What are you looking to do when you hold back snakes? Are you looking for stuff that you can make again, you're selling, or if it's a female and these genes, I'm keeping it, that type of thing?
Strategy. I think strategy might be overselling it a little bit. Now I'm somewhat kidding. Really. So these first 2 years of breeding haven't been. So last year was one clutch. This year was 10 clutches, but they haven't really been like, with the exception of a handful of clutches, like really my whole back clutches. First year was really, it was just a clutch to sell essentially everything. I actually ended up keeping two females back from it because one, it was a pretty cool looking paradox bell, and so I kept her. And then like I kept this 5 gene female, who I'm gonna just run some double recessive stuff through, and so I'm gonna use her to like make some good double hit stuff. Is at least the plan right now. She's a pretty good eater. She grows well, and she probably be in the rotation next year.
Nice.
But in terms of, and then this year, in terms of like some of the animals that I held back, it was more obviously stuff that drove the projects forward, and I was really female centric with my holdbacks, just really trying to hold back some good breeder females for the future. I didn't have a ton of pairings in the projects that I'm super like excited about for the future, and so that's something I've kind of learned along the way. I did produce some stuff, more so to have some animals to sell, just to like pay some bills,
Right.
and that in some ways that's worked for me, in some ways it hasn't. I'm definitely gonna shy away from doing that going forward. To me, the juice wasn't worth the squeezing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so the clutches that I primarily held stuff back from this year was really 3 clutches. And it might be 4. We'll see which way it goes. So I put a Mojave Hypo to a Mahogany Cinnamon Mystic Posset Pod. No, 100% head pod. I'm sorry. But I just haven't proven it. I bought them as 100% head pod. Mm-hmm. And so the babies are posset pod, assuming that the male is 100% head pod. And so I got some dope combos that I want to work into like hypopod stuff. And that was really all I got for my hypopod stuff this year, because my hypo to pod combo clutch, it was all slugs. And so that's all I really got in that project. So I did hold a couple females back from that. And I had a OD Inchy Lemon Blast pod male, and I put him to a pastel clown female, but I didn't get a lot of what I wanted. Like I had pastel on both sides, so I had like pastel like all over the place, and so I ended up only holding back one female from that. She was a OD Lemon Blast double head clown pod, and so I held her back because I should be able to use her in the future. I didn't want to hold back because I got like a super pastel or a killer blast. Right. I didn't want to hold her back because it's guaranteed to be pastel in the babies, and so I couldn't want to stay away from pastel in that project. And then I had the OD Inchy Fire Black Pastel Clown that I put to the super Inchy Lesser Hypo. Hypo Clown is well known at this point. That's one of the projects I'm most excited about, and I was really looking forward to that because I was hoping if I had 8 females, I probably would have held back 7. Like I was really going to hold back some females in that, but I ended up with a 6.2, and so I ended up holding 3 back out of that, and then the other 5 are going to be for sale. But that was kind of a surprise clutch because again, I only had bell jeans on one side of the pairing. Or at least I thought I only had a bell gene on one side of the pairing. And then when I cut the eggs, it was like 3 bells. And so like that was crazy. And then once they started crawling out, I saw that a couple of them had leopard. And so that was crazy too. And so a couple of surprise genes in that male, still trying to like sort out all the pieces or whatnot with that pairing. But like I say, that was one of my most anticipated pairs. I would have held back 7 out of 8 females if I would have got 8 females. The only other person that would have got a female would have been Matt from Ebony and Ivory Reptiles. Shout out to the homie Big E because he sold me the female, and so
a little bit of reciprocal.
Yes, sir. So he was looking for a black pastel Inchy combo double hit hypo clown female, and so I definitely would have took care of the homie. But everything else I was gonna hold back. But yeah, I forget where I was even going with it. Oh yeah. And so held back a lot from that, and then I was or held back 3 from that, and the rest of it's going to be on sale. I'm actually do a traditional YouTube video about that. Most likely once I kind of put together some more pieces of the puzzle, so I have a little bit more information to share. But it's a pretty cool clutch, and it's one of those exciting things, right? So it's one of those things that happen, it's unexpected, and so it add like a bit of excitement, and it also give me something to talk about, because at this point I probably talked about it on my show and like 2 other shows. I've been talking about it with the homies, and so it makes for a real good story, right? It's just like something else to experience and learn from, and just it's kind of like gambling, right? Like you never know what you're gonna get. And so the other clutch that I was really looking forward to, didn't have the greatest of luck with that clutch. I had an Inchy Red Stripe Batman that I put to a Super Pastel Butter DG female, and so I was planning to hold back a lot of females from that. I like the Batman project, and so I was going to do like some DG Batman stuff, and so that was going to really give me some tools to work with in that project. But that girl laid 6 eggs, or she laid 5 slugs and 1 good egg, and so I got 1 good egg in the incubator cooking right now, and it's going to be the only egg in the incubator cooking until mid-January, and so hopefully that's a female. But to be honest, I don't know. I still haven't figured out if I'm gonna hold her back or not, because I got a lot of good stuff coming in the DG Clown project for this season, or I should. Part of me saying hold her back, part of me not. I don't know. I'll probably end up holding her back, but I'm really to answer your question like concisely, I'm really like holding back animals that's gonna push the project forward. That's my strategy, right? And so it's like, this is what I want to get long term. So can this animal help me get to that long term? But I should have a lot more of those animals crawling out the eggs. It's going to push my projects forward long term this year.
Well, I mean, if that one is a girl, you can hold her back until your other DG Clown stuff starts popping out, and then reassess, because you never know. I mean, it might take
100%
to be ready.
100%.
I know.
100%.
I know when I have had 2 that, 2 that would have been ready. But one was part of a package deal, and the other one I wanted to get over on further thought for the person getting it. And I'm sitting here assist feeding, one of them that I'm selling, and another one that's for sale. And I'm like, I gotta, it's gonna be March because it's cold here. It's like, well, they're here anyway, so make the decision about the other champagne then. If I sell it, great. If not, it's a girl. It's champagne. Could be het for lavender. You never know.
And the other clutch I held some stuff back from was I put a chocolate freeway to a highway. So I had like 8 eggs from that clutch. It was like a 2.6. So it was like the opposite sex odds as that other. And man, the snakes from that clutch are insane, bro. I did 4 of them as chocolate pavements, but I was like, man, it can't be like, that's just crazy. And so I've been going back and forth on them.
Yeah, but I mean, that's insane. With like the possibilities from that pairing, I mean, you can ID, the acts like super somewhat easily, and then you hit the single genes. Well, it's got to be one or the other, right?
Yeah, so you could, from that clutch,
so you wouldn't have a single gene yellow belly complex animal.
No, so both of those are ALS, right? So you got the highway and you got the freeway. You got yellow belly on both sides, and you got gravel and asphalt on either side. And so you could either get a highway, a freeway, or a pavement, or ivory, exactly. Okay. And so, and then chocolate in the mix. And I feel like I got 4 chocolate pavements. There's some I'm certain, based on like conversations with other people, that the chocolate pavements, and then it was like one that I kind of questioned. There was actually 2 that I kind of questioned whether or not they were chocolate pavements. And so I'm actually doing a video about those. Since I'm on vacation, I'm gonna do a video, because from another clutch I hatched out like some regular freeways, and so I'm gonna show the regular freeway, I'm gonna show the chocolate freeway, and then I'm gonna show the chocolate pavements and show the difference. And hopefully I have that video out sometime later this week. But I definitely want to show the difference because it's a big difference. Like when you look at them like side by side by side, like looking at them individually, you kind of like, okay, are these the same snake? But not really. But then looking at them side by side is just crazy. Rashad from 212 Exotics, he posted one of the girls. He got one of those a few weeks ago, like probably like a month ago now. And he posted her in his reel. It's the first one you see on that reel that he just recently posted, where he's showing the snakes that he growing up. And the first one is one of the females for me.
Nice.
And I actually get my holdbacks. Shout out to the homie Rashad. I saw him on the show a few weeks ago. I'm actually thinking that I'm going to test the 2 holdbacks that I have for yellow belly. And if they come back negative yellow belly, then we know that they're pavements. Because I know they're not highways.
Right. Now, so with animals like that, do you feel like when you have them physically in front of you and you're not looking at them through a screen, it's a lot easier to see and discern coloration and pattern, a lot better?
Yeah, because your eye pick up so much more nuance than what a camera can pick up.
Right. Because I know, like, for me, like, no matter how much lighting I have, no matter how much stuff I have to, like, compensate for the lighting and the coloration of the snake, it's still not what I'm seeing with my eye. And I still get to figure out how to do that with my cameras. I think once I do that, it's going to be awesome. Because I know I show off some snakes, and it's like that hypo that I have is phenomenal looking, but it looks blushed out and whitish whenever I show it. It gets washed out, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get good pictures too. As good of pictures as I want. I get the best pictures outside in natural light, like in the morning time or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or right before the sun go down. That way you don't have like that harsh light coming from the sun, just like casting shadows and like throwing stuff off. But you kind of got like this nice kind of soft natural light, and it really make the colors pop and kind of like make them show up on the camera more so how you seen it with your eye, in my opinion.
Yeah, and this is something I'm trying to learn. I have a DSLR camera. I'm investing more.
Oh, big baller.
It was a hand me down. It's a little broken, but it works. So I mean, mainly it's a lens that's
it's all about the lens at the end of the day.
But yeah, just getting to like work that, figure out the light, and then making sure I'm not shaking my hands or anything like that. But it's still definitely a learning process. And backgrounds. I need a light box. But I feel like all that stuff helps. So we are hitting that 8 o'clock mark. I won't keep you that much longer. We talked about mostly everything. You covered a lot of questions when we were talking about holdback strategy, so that's great.
True.
So, we can talk about the current market, and really, it is what it is. You're either going to, lower your price, whatever. You're going to do what you have to do to get through this. So, complain or not, whatever. Sell your snakes at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's really a lot of different moving pieces to that question, in my opinion. And different people, like you say, are going to have different takes. And different people, I feel like some people think their take is like mutually exclusive of like another person's take. But at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff can be true at the same time. I don't like the term ball python recession when I hear it, because a recession is more of a macro outlook for the economy, right? And that's what I think of when I think of recession. And then just labeling it as ball python really kind of like discounts how the overall market and the overall economy factors into what's going on, right? So the macro economy and how it factors into the things at play in this specific market. And so I really don't like kind of designating it as a ball python recession. I think that's kind of problematic. And I can see like how a lot of people kind of walk away from that with a bad taste in their mouth. And I think that's warranted. That's just my opinion. I do think we are looking at a market correction on a lot of stuff. 2020 stuff was going left and right, and demand was crazy, and prices, I mean, it's all supply and demand at the end of the day, and prices kind of start creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. And so you saw that you had people like myself just now getting into the hobby and just like eating snakes. I need it, I need it, I need it, I need it, I need it. Right. And then we were all new. We were picking up stuff like just left and right. It was crazy. I know a lot of the groups that I was in, people was posting every day. Oh man, look, I just picked up these 74 snakes. Like,
right.
We're just like, it was
buying the stuff. That's
right. And so like
raising their prices and
exactly
more stuff.
like,
people now we have that inventory, so it's
exactly. And then so I mean, you just have like a lot of competing market factors going on, kind of at the same time that really caused the market to heat up in a lot of ways. I do feel like here recently you're starting to see some of that slow down to an extent for a number of reasons. Prices everywhere, like we was talking about backstage, prices everywhere are going up. So more and more people have less and less disposable income because prices going up and wages are not going up at the same rate. And so people who are buying like primarily like your lower end animals, I know like Chris like to call them like paycheck snakes and stuff like that. Well, paycheck snakes at this point, which they cost the same as the paycheck loaf of bread you're getting, right? And so like at the end of the day, if somebody got to like choose between, you know what I'm saying, feeding their family, putting clothes on their back, getting to and from work, whatever necessities that they happen to have, and they have less disposable income, then maybe they have less money to invest into their fledgling hobby or their reptile keeping or their pet keeping, right? And so you kind of see that. And then also I feel like at the same time you see like other investors like really getting like some good high-end stuff, and some people getting like some great deals, right? And so like all that stuff can kind of be true at the same time. And then you also have people who are still buying like lower end, mid-tier, even higher end stuff. They've been a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, picky because there's additional supply, right? You kind of got all those other competing factors, and so it's making people value, you know what I'm saying, their money like even more so, and be like even more particular about how they're spending it. And so they're being a little more picky, right? And so I don't know where it's going to go this year or the next year, but I do feel like it's going to pick back up. And while there's all those competing factors, like at the same time, like I'm one of those guys that I just talked about, like in terms of like investing money. Like I'm still investing money into this as a business because I mean I've dropped thousands of dollars into this, like several thousands of dollars into this, right? And I'm not saying that as a flex, I'm just saying that to contextualize like my comments, right? Mm-hmm. And if I didn't feel like there was a future in this, then I wouldn't be comfortable dropping that kind of money into what we're doing, right? And so clearly I feel good about where the market's going to go long term. When I got into this, or at least as I got into this and learned more, I had already gotten comfortable with this is going to be the long game, right? My strategy had already started focusing on building for the future, so it can just be like crazy, you know what I'm saying, 5, 6, 7, 8 years and beyond down the road, right? For me, I want to be in this for the long haul. I do want to do this full time one day, but I know that it's a marathon and not a sprint. And so I'm conducting myself accordingly. And that's what I advise anyone to do. Yes, some people still selling stuff left and right. Some people not able to sell stuff in a lot of spaces. Prices are correcting, right, and they're coming back, they're coming down. All of all that kind of stuff is like true at the same time. But I think long term, it's gonna come back. It's just like any market. It's just like, I mean, it is what it is. It goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have lost money one year in the stock market, but if you look at your 10-year return, you might you got positive returns, right? And so at the end of the day, ain't you winning? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so don't get too caught up in, oh, this year or any one year, right? I feel like you should have like a long-term horizon outlook, especially if you plan on doing this for a business, right?
Oh, definitely. And before I ask my question, I just want to chime in with my thoughts on it. You know, I keep a smaller collection right now because if something were to happen, like, you know, we have inflation, things like that, prices everywhere else goes up, I can still manage this, and I'm not going to be like, oh, I got to sell half the stuff, you know, to pay rent.
Right.
I want to avoid that. And, you know, I'm in it for the long haul because this is a passion. It's a hobby. So when I make a, you know, cinnamon pinstripe pet ultra milk girl, that's going to replace my cinnamon, and that hopefully it'll go as a pet, or I'll find another breeder that wants to get into cinnamon. Proven breeder, here you go, that type of thing. So it's, you know, that's, you know, bettering myself in the previous year. That's it. Like you mentioned earlier. I'm gauging, you know, market trends into, you know, genetics, but I'm not, you know, trying to keep up with the Joneses as far as, oh, I need to buy XYZ because so and so made that. It's like, well, you know, I've seen these things work together. Maybe I'll pivot to, you know, throwing this gene into this project at some point, not just buying it all now. With that all being said, where do you actually see yourself, you know, in the next let's say 5 to 10 years? You see yourself doing it full time?
Not in 5, but in 10. Definitely, that's the goal. In some shape, form, or fashion, that's the goal, is to be solely focused on reptiles in some shape, form, or fashion. I think it's probably going to be a combination of a lot.
Right. So like within that 10 years, you see yourself actually, you know, you see yourself retiring and doing it full time, or, you know, I can leave my job, you know, and I have everything set up perfect, essentially retiring, but like quitting early type of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I mean, you see yourself like in a position to that, or you're just going to get close enough to retire that you can just maybe do it a couple of years earlier and be like, you know, I'm breed ball pythons, and, you know, I'm well off enough.
Yeah, so my date is June 30, 2031. That's my date, right? That's my date where I want to just kind of wrap up stuff and say, hey, I can focus solely on this. You know what I'm saying?
Nice. I mean, for me, yeah, it's yeah, I'll retire at some point. But like, this is always going to be a hobby. I love what I do for work. So, you know, unless somebody makes me an offer I can't refuse to go to the private sector and I can, you know, make hella money in investments, I'm still in the hobby side, but, you know, still ambitious. I mean, if I hit awesome snakes, great. You know, they sell for money. It is what it is. I mean, I just always love these animals, and it is a hobby. I enjoy the experience. Let's see. All right, so we'll wrap this up and, you know, send everybody over to Jeremy's. So, Mike, any shows that you plan on vending or attending within the next, let's say, year?
Within the next year, definitely a lot of them. I mean, Daytona, I'll be at Daytona. I'll be at October Tinley. Hoping to get to the Lake Arlington. We'll see how that goes. Vending, still kind of playing that by ear. And I'm the kind of person, I get caught in the paralysis of analysis a lot. Mm-hmm. And like, I just want things to kind of like be perfect out the gate. And I still do that, even though I should have learned my lesson about that. But before I vend, I want to make sure I have like all my stuff set up, right? So I want like the whole setup. I want like the dope display cases that I want. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want to buy them and then use them for a little while and then have to go get something different, right? And so I want like some nice display cases. I don't want to like, I got a friend saying like, go just take your deli cups. Like, I don't want to do that, me personally. But vending is going to be contingent upon when we pick up like some vending supplies. Maybe towards the latter part of the year is when we'll start vending a couple shows. And if we vend shows, it'll be something local to start out with. Like, it'll be like, Florida, we got shows like every other weekend, it feels like. So like Orlando, it's not that far from here. Jacksonville, it's not far from here. Valdosta, Georgia, shout out to the hometown 229 representative. That's not that far from here. Tampa, not far from here. So we got a lot of options where I'm at in terms of like vending stuff locally or somewhat locally, where it's not like too big of a haul to get there. It'll be a while before like I'm even in the space to vend a big show. Like maybe the following year, maybe I can shoot for like Daytona, but I won't be at Daytona level. I don't think for like the animals I'm gonna have available next year.
All right.
It depends on like when animals go to, right? Because this past year, all of my females except for one went after Daytona, and so then that kind of timing plays into it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like for me here, if I do vend, I think it's gonna be Nathan or somebody will have an extra table, and it'll be that perfect timing where it's like, oh, I have inventory.
Yeah.
And I can I can go do this and move it here rather than Craigslist, Morph Market, all that other stuff.
Based on the timing of when my animals went last year, which it might be a little bit different this year, but based on that timing, I won't probably have anything available when Daytona come around.
Yeah, I think for me everything should be like May, June, July. If they do what they did last year for me or Chris.
I hope I hit that this year, like that May, June, July time frame, because that changes it a little bit.
Yeah. But then again, some of the stuff I'm holding back, some of the stuff I'm probably just going to move. I'm not going to hold on to my like whatever bells were last year or 2 years ago price. It's like what, I have them, I can make them. Here's what the market dictates. Maybe you want to make a deal, like let it go a little faster.
Yeah,
that's fine. Again, the money is nice on the higher end stuff. I may be more stingy, but on a dollar or past dollar, something on the lower end, it's like at some point feeding you and housing you is going to
go
in the way.
Right. Yeah, you gotta. It's not even just a financial decision, like you said. Like, I mean, it takes time and in space. It's a lot of consideration, and then also like time is a big one, right?
Yeah.
That's really kind of like my best friend and my arch enemy at the same time in a lot of ways, just because like if I could be better at time management for sure, but at the same time, like I got a lot of different things competing for my time, and so just kind of figuring out that balance, that's something that I've been working on, right? Just gonna try to get better and better and better and better, but it can be hard, bro. I mean, family, work, reptiles, personal life, just everything, bro. And sleep, exercise, like I can't pull all-nighters like I used to and just just get up and go. I used to could do it, bro, but I just can't do it the same no more. Maybe if I wasn't doing it back then, I could do it now, but I think I used up my all-nighters.
Yeah, definitely. I can't put things up. If I have a long day at work and there's reptile stuff or animal stuff, that's not getting done that day. If I can push it back to when I have enough time to do it properly, that's fine. Usually the rats and that stuff. I deal with the water and food when needed during the week, but they're getting cleaned on a Sunday. And so it's convenient because I have the grow out, so I'll feed from like my grow out thing, switch them around, move things up, and while I'm cleaning, so it works out. But all right. So where can people find you on social media?
So you can find me everywhere. Just Google Herp Collectors. Everything pops up. The IG pops up. The Facebook pops up. YouTube pops up. TikTok pops up. Herp Collectors everywhere. Herp Collectors on your favorite podcast platform too. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Nice. Herp Collectors there. It'll pop up. You'll see it. You'll see the logo.
Nice. And that's something I want to talk to you backstage before we get off.
For sure.
Also, if you're too lazy to Google it, you can go down in the description and click his link tree. It'll take you to everything.
Yes, sir. Everything is in that link tree.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Public service announcement. If you got multiple platforms where people can get to you, get a link tree. It makes life so much easier.
Yep. Because Instagram allows you to do one link, right?
Yep.
So if you put everything there, it's helpful.
Yeah, it makes life so much easier.
I think you can have up to 5 links, something with the free plan. It's 5 links. You put your logo on it, and then all right.
Yeah, you can even put your colors on it, all of that. Bam, bam, bam. You in there.
All right, Mike. Any final words for the audience before we sign off here?
No, man. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Definitely appreciate the support. Y'all keep supporting Kent in this show. Looking forward to seeing it on Saturdays now. What's the name of it on Saturday now?
I think I've settled on Shedding Your Skin. I wanted to do Coming Out of Your Shell, but it's sort of Gershon liked that idea, but we're not talking really about turtles.
So Shedding Your Skin, okay. And that's going to be Saturdays at what time?
Saturdays at 4 p.m. So it's a little bit
Eastern Standard Time?
Eastern Standard Time.
Gotcha.
So next week I got spicy Mike from Spicy Noodles on, so that'll be fun. I'll miss out
on
most of the Dallas game, but hey,
So you close this chapter with a mic and you start the next chapter with a mic.
Yep.
You got the recipe, bro.
Yeah. So I am looking forward to that change. It gives me more time, and I know tonight I went over, but we got started a little late, so I wanted to make sure I gave Mike the full 90 minutes. So thank you to everybody for tuning in. I'll have some more posts about the Shedding Your Skin as we approach next weekend. Make sure to go check out German Warfel after you get off of here, and go check out the rest of the usual suspects. FNA's got their thing at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. Nicole's got her thing at 1 on Saturdays, and then what's it, 8 a.m. on Mondays?
On Mondays, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Balls and Things every Wednesday at 8. We got Mike from Herp who's doing his thing. Thursdays at 8. I'm not forgetting. Hair Down Fridays at 7. I think that's everybody. Darren.
Don't forget Gershon.
Oh, yeah, Gershon. Fridays at Under 1,000 Podcast, 8 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And Derek does Thirsty Thursdays. Big D. Usually,
I think you got pretty much. Yeah, I think so.
All right. Anyway, Thank you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all when you catch the replay, and I will see you on Saturday.
Appreciate it, everybody.
All right.